Welcome to Sterling Candidates Night, presented by Sterling-Lancaster Community Television. I'm Lex Thomas, your moderator, and it's my pleasure to be here with our candidates and our live audience and with all of our viewers. Thank you for taking the time to be with us and with our candidates. On Monday, May 12th, Sterling residents will elect candidates for seats on a variety of town boards and committees. Today, we want to give voters an opportunity to hear directly from registered candidates that submitted nomination papers with the town of Sterling in order to appear on the ballot. We want to give candidates the opportunity to tell you, the voters, what they want you to know in order to make informed decisions on election day. All registered candidates were invited to participate in this event. And you can find a complete list of open seats and candidates on the Sterling Town website. So we have a few rules for the forum, and here they are. I will introduce each candidate. In contested seats where there is more than one candidate for an available seat, candidates will appear together. Each candidate will have 3 minutes to make an opening statement. Each candidate will then have 2 minutes to answer questions from the moderator. Following my questions, members of the audience will have an opportunity to ask one question and a follow-up question directed through the moderator, which means that I will recognize an audience member that wishes to pose a question. I will impose a 30-second time limit on questions and request that audience members ask succinct questions without preamble or commentary. Candidates will have 2 minutes to respond to each question. In contested races where there is more than one candidate for a seat, candidates appear together and have the opportunity for rebuttal. There are 2 candidates for 2 3-year seats on the select board. As these 2 candidates are not competing for the same seat, they will individually have an opportunity to outline their platforms. However, there are 3 candidates vying for 1 2-year seat on the select board, and they will appear together and will have the opportunity for rebuttal. Finally, each candidate will have 1 minute to deliver a closing statement. I will activate a stopwatch at the start of each statement or response. I respectfully ask you to abide by these rules, as they will help the event to run smoothly and allow as many people to speak as possible. I also ask that we observe the rules of courteous and respectful conduct and speech, and that we refrain from conduct and speech that is disrespectful, prejudicial, inflammatory, or obstructive. So we're going to start with Alicia McHugh, candidate for one of 2 seats on the Library Board of Trustees for a 3-year term. So, Alicia, come on up. Yes, there you go. And Alicia, you have 3 minutes for your opening statement.
Thank you. Hello, thank you. Thank you for giving me this opportunity. My name is Alicia McHugh, and I'm running for a library trustee position. I've lived in Sterling for 29 years. My first meaningful connections to our community came through the Conant Public Library. When my husband and I first moved to Sterling, we knew no one other than our next door neighbor. We were working full-time in other towns, and although we loved living in this beautiful town, we were not a part of it. When my first child was born, I wanted to find a way to meet other local families, so I went to story time at the library. On the first day, I was filling out our name tags and looked over and saw a woman writing down the same name as mine and the same name as my son's. We laughed and started talking. I made my first of my many Sterling friends that day among the picture books at the children's section of the library. To me, that is the powerful, wonderful thing about libraries. A library is often at the physical center and almost always at the metaphorical center of a community. It is a place for people of different backgrounds, ages, and perspectives to come together to learn, read, create, and connect. The Conant Public Library does an amazing job fulfilling this need in our community with creative and thoughtful programs, many of which I have enjoyed. And yes, of course, there are books, free books. It still amazes me. Books have played a central role in my life since forever. My mother was a middle school librarian, and for the past 12 years, I have taught 7th grade English in West Boylston. I can still picture the stacks where I found my favorite books in the Marlborough Public Library when I was a child. I can also remember searching the card catalog, which dates me. Our library has done an excellent job keeping up with the times, providing access to all titles in the C.W. Mars collection, as well as e- and audiobooks, and offering a variety of other physical and electronic resources. The website is also visually engaging, informative, and easy to navigate. Although I love finding my next read at the physical library, I often take advantage of the convenience of seeking out and requesting titles from the comfort of my home. Our library must remain a strong and wonderful resource for our town, which is my priority in serving on its board. I'm running to support the library's mission, its knowledgeable, professional, and helpful staff, and the goals set forth in its strategic plan, which was developed with thoughtful input from the community. Change is the only constant, and I'm sure the next few years will present both opportunities and challenges for the library. I'm hoping to offer my ideas and perspectives in response to both as a parent, educator, avid bookworm, and Sterling resident. Thank you.
Alicia, like so many other public services, libraries have changed since the pandemic, and more people are accessing resources online and to libraries throughout the state. How do you intend to bring the community back into the library? Do you think that's an important thing to do? And how do you intend to do it? And you have 2 minutes.
Thank you. Well, I think the library's really done an amazing job of that. And I think one of the lessons we've learned through the pandemic is flexibility. I taught hybrid during the pandemic, and so I had students both in front of me and students at home at the same time simultaneously, 7th graders. So I do like the flexibility. I think the programming, I've gone to the library since I've lived here, and the programming has just become more comprehensive, more engaging, bringing in different types of programming. I think that really brings people into the library. There's a number of different types of book clubs. There's cookbook clubs, and now there's a rail trail walking club. So I think bringing programming is one place to get in, and then when people have that association, they feel more comfortable coming in and borrowing. But again, I also like the flexibility. You might see me, I'm an avid runner, and so I'm often listening to audiobooks that I've got downloaded through the app on the library website. So again, I think the flexibility, and I think just more and more communicating with the public and letting everybody know what the library has to offer. So continuing along the lines what they've been doing. And just keep expanding programming and communication and outreach in the community.
Thank you, Alicia. Are there any public questions that anybody would like to ask? Yes, please go over to the lectern and please give us your name and ask your question.
I'm sorry, my name is Angela Gradarati. I live here in Sterling. Is there anything else you want me to say?
No, just pose your question.
Hi there. I'm just wondering, with all the new changes in our country now, how are the library and you dealing with the banning of books?
Yeah, so that's obviously, an issue for all libraries and schools. I think there's libraries, again, I'm pretty new to this position, but I know they work really hard to curate a collection. We have a wonderful library director who's very thoughtful in the books that she chooses and selects for the library and tries to represent a wide variety of interests and quality materials in the library. Generally, know their policy is not to take books off the shelves. People can borrow or not borrow a book based on whatever their interests or their tastes or their values are. To that end, I know there is a protocol if somebody wants to challenge a book. There is a methodology in place, but it generally is not something that would be done lightly. But obviously, we serve the community, and the community has, if you look at the policy, there's a policy right on the library and it tells you what the procedure is. But generally, if people don't want to read a book, they shouldn't borrow a book. But, overall, people should be making that decisions for themselves as to what they feel comfortable and what they don't, and nobody's going to force anybody to read a book they don't want to. So hopefully that will continue in that regard. So.
Thank you, Alicia.
Yeah.
Are there any other audience questions? Yes, sir.
Good, Furman.
Please go over to the lectern.
Yeah.
We have to get you on camera.
That's not necessary, but I'll do it.
Stand on the podium, huh?
Podium, okay.
Right here.
Oh, then you have to take.
There you go.
This was tough. I have a very simple question. Periodically, I start going through some shelves in the house, and I get these hard-covered books.
Does the library take them?
Yeah.
Yeah, I am not sure about that. I know that the library also is, trying to keep the shelves up to date, so especially I'm guessing with fiction. So I'm not sure if they're open to that, but it's a good question. If not, I don't know if they work with the community to have opportunities for book exchanges or book swaps. It might be a nice program to have, honestly. Not just putting out books that are there gleaning off their shelves, but maybe giving people an opportunity to exchange books. That would be an excellent idea.
Okay.
So, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other questions? Yes?
Hi, my name is Paula Leftwich, and I'm new here. I hope that you will forgive me if my question is moot or not necessary. But as a library board member, will you be prepared and will the board be prepared to help maintain a robust funding stream if traditional library funding sources dry up as they are currently at threat of doing?
Yeah, it's an excellent question. Again, I'm really new to this position. I did attend a trustees meeting I think in March. And I know that the current director does an amazing job getting grant money and other types of funding streams. It just seems like an incredibly resourceful and capable person, so I think we would just continue to come up with ideas and strategies and problem solving for whatever comes our way.
Thank you.
So, yeah.
Are there any other public questions? Alicia, you have 1 minute to make a closing statement.
This is the first time that I've run for elective office in this town, but I've long supported literacy and learning in Sterling. I served on the board of Village Green Preschool. I was an active member of the Houghton PTO and co-chair for 2 years. During that time, one of our accomplishments was adding new titles to the school library with generous support of school parents and the local community. In an effort to learn about the trustees' role, I reviewed the minutes of past meetings and attended a recent meeting. I reviewed the current strategic plan as well as the documents that informed it, such as the focus group report and the community survey report. I've also downloaded and reviewed the Mass Board of Library Trustee Handbook, which was 174 pages long. So I did ask AI to boil it down a bit for me. I'm looking forward to serving the community in this role, and I hope to have your support. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Alicia. And now I would like to welcome Gary Menon up to the hot seat. Welcome, Gary.
Thank you. Thank you, Lex, for presiding over this presentation tonight. Appreciate that, and thank you all for coming. I presume most of you are Sterling residents and that you therefore have something in common. And running for the Board of Health, we deal principally with a septic system, and all of you have a septic system. And it's important for you to pay attention tonight because this presentation involves you and your septic system. I was on the Board of Health for about a dozen or so years, from 2009 to 2021. I ran for re-election in 2021, but I was defeated. And at that time, I really didn't think too much about moving on and to another term on the Board of Health. I just kind of said I kind of had enough at that time, and I took it upon myself to kind of relax from that. However, I was still on distribution for minutes of meetings for the Board of Health because I had been on the Board of Health and I was not removed from that distribution list. And so, kind of like clickbait, I would click on those and read them from time to time as they came out. And in December of 2022, I noticed that the Board of Health decided to change their requirements for the inspection for Title V. Is everybody familiar with Title V? Anybody here looking forward to their Title V inspection? Nobody's looking forward to that, right? It's a very unnerving time because there's a lot of subjective analysis done in addition to objective analysis, but everybody's nervous about that, including myself. But in any event, I saw that they changed the regulation to require, as opposed to all other towns in the state, pretty much every single town in the 350 towns in the state, to require a deep observation hole. How many people have heard of the deep observation hole? You've been paying attention to the special town meeting which was held on October 16th of 2023, which I had initiated a petition to hold that special town meeting with the help of a lot of people, and indeed 600 people that signed onto that petition, to request that the Board of Health, the existing Board of Health then, that I was not then a member of, rescind that requirement. We couldn't demand it legally, effectively, but we could try to put the pressure on, if you will, to have them rescind that requirement, which was a very onerous requirement. You would have to call up an excavator to come and excavate a 10-foot deep hole on your property. Now, the Title V requirements, the whole theme of Title V is to be reasonable. It says right in the statute. It also says that it should be the least invasive test possible. They don't want to interfere with your operation. And this was going to be the most invasive test. So thus, with that petition and the successful, I think, town meeting, that notwithstanding, the Board of Health was intransigent. They refused to budge on that. Well, then things started to change. One member of the board resigned and was promptly replaced by a kindred spirit to the special town meeting. And then the election cycle was coming up, and another member chose not to run, and another kindred spirit got on the board. And with that placement of the two people, now a quorum, that agreed with the special town meeting agenda, effectively, all the regulations, which were in excess of Title V, and there were local regulations that had been put in place by the previous board, were rescinded. Massachusetts,
Gary,
yes.
thank you. That is your 3 minutes
Okay.
for your opening statement. So my question for you, and you answered one of them, is why are you seeking to return? But also, what are your 1 or 2 top priorities as a Board of Health member? And you have 2 minutes to answer.
Okay, I guess the first reason, the reason I'm here is because I don't want to go backwards. We want to keep the same theme going, that we're not going to exceed regulations. We're going to meet regulations. And if we have a need to exceed a regulation, we have to have an engineering justification for it. There has to be some rationale, which the previous board did not ever propose. As far as additional things I'd like to see happening, I think we need to educate people more on that system. I have a little picture of the system over there behind the flag, but educate people on what a septic system is and why it's important to take care of it. People think you flush a toilet, it's out of sight, out of mind, but the reason we're so nervous about Title V is because if you should fail at Title V, replacement of your septic system is incredibly expensive and very disruptive. And so I want to put in place advices to the townsfolk on various subjects, like what is a DWACS? How is it important to you? We always hear about dig safe. You got to make sure that when you dig on your property that you don't interfere with an electrical line or a water line. But we also have to be septic safe. because if a truck drives over your septic system, they could destroy it and cause you to have to replace it. It's happened several times.
Thank you. Are there any public questions? For hearing none. Yes, please go over to the podium.
I just give you a copy.
Just think you're getting your steps in for the day.
Oh, trust me, I got enough of them, man.
Come to the podium.
Over there, over to the
Oh,
podium
gotta go
so
back
that we
here.
all
Okay.
can hear you. And please, what is your name?
Edwin Furman,
Okay.
and I'm a Sterling resident. With respect to the septic, the handling of the septics, our septic was put in a number of years ago. We've maintained it using my wife's Red X. And is that a safe way to do it?
In my opinion, if you look at the instructions.
Can we let,
Oh, I'm sorry.
We've never had a single problem with it. It was put in '83.
As well with mine. However, the key thing about your septic system is the distribution box.
Yeah.
And when I first looked at my distribution box, it was destroyed. It caved in. It was made out of concrete, and the septic environment is very acidic, caustic, and can cause the concrete to erode. I would advise you to check your D-box before you think that you don't have any problems with your septic system.
Well, it gets checked about every 2 years.
They checked it, all they do is, did they look at your D-box every 2 years?
They open the thing up and,
That's the tank, the septic
All right.
tank, not the distribution box.
not the the D-box off to the
Yeah, the
side.
D-box is, I might show you this slide. This is standard pipe and stone septic system. See it that well. But, the sewage comes out of your house, goes into the septic tank. It separates into scum layer and sludge layer, which you have pumped out periodically, I hope, about every 3 to 4 years. The semi-treated liquid, no solids, go off into your distribution box, and from there to distribute it to your leach field. And that's where the problem arose, of course, is determining that we're in the groundwater. And I guess the key thing is that if you don't look at this D-box, you don't really know the status of your system. And as far as Ridex goes, I think it's a mistake to put it into the instructions of Ridex are to put it into your toilets, right? Put a packet in your toilet once every quarter or something like that. In my opinion, that's working on the sludge in your tank. You want the sludge to stay in your tank, so you pump it out every 4 years. You don't want it to be dissolved and move on into your leach field and tend to plug up your leach field. So I'm against that. Okay. If I were to do anything, if I were to put any Ridex in, I would open up the distribution box and put it in there.
Okay.
thank you. Are there any other public questions? Please, during the answers, please remain quiet because we have very sensitive.
Hi, I'm
mics.
Blaine Burchard, and I have a question. I'm looking at what the Board of Health has to do, and it monitors air and water quality as well. You're responsible for that. Restaurant safety is the health department. You're really overseeing the health department. What are your qualifications? What are your interests in dealing with all those other non-septic issues? How do you handle it?
Well, I was on the board for, as I said, about a dozen years. Throughout that time, we oversaw all these inspections you were talking about. There never arose many serious problems. There were a couple of them. And so my experience with that has been rather benign. I mean, we never really had a problem with it. As far as my background, technologically, I have a master's in environmental studies. I was the environmental health and safety manager for General Electric Company, where I oversaw the compliance with regulations for power plants around the country. And it hasn't really been a big problem. I guess it's certainly an area which I think I could get some more education on. I've always moved to try to join with our agent to go on these inspections. But in the past, that wasn't possible. Hopefully now with a board that I think I see more eye to eye on, I think that'll be made possible.
Thank you.
Are there any other public questions? Yes?
Good evening, Laura Ritchie, town resident. I was interested in Mr. Menon's views on the growth, the potential growth in the town, since the town has no public storage here. I'm wondering how you feel about all the proposed growth, like the gas station and Route 140 being
Well, you know, I'm
over there.
like that person that, you know, moves on a lake, and I want to be the last person who moves onto that lake, you know, I mean, I'm kind of an environmentalist. An environmentalist wants a house in the woods, but a builder wants to build a house in the woods, you know, so there's a fine, I didn't move to Sterling to try to push to have gas stations and McDonald's here. I moved to, if I wanted that, I would have moved to Leominster, or to Worcester, or to Holden. And so I don't look forward to that, but I know that the development is you know, likelihood, it's going to happen. But as far as that gas station goes, that's actually on a Zone 2 aquifer, Zone 2 well aquifer. And I don't think that's a proper placement of it, in my opinion. It's more likely to have, you know, gasoline spills at a gas station than it would be some other enterprise.
Thank you.
That's my opinion.
Are there any other public questions for Mr. Menon? Gary, you have 1 minute to make a closing statement.
Well, as I said, I want to keep moving forward with the trend that we have. The theme is to, you know, to be compliant with all regulations of the state. The state of Massachusetts has the most stringent environmental regulations probably in the country, or nearly in the country. We don't need to make them more stringent, and if there is a need to make them more stringent, we have to have an engineering and empirical justification for it, not just because we feel it's appropriate, like the last board did. That's all I have to say.
Thank you, Mr. Menon. I would now invite David Smith. And David Smith is a candidate for re-election to one of 2 3-year seats on the Select Board. And David, you have 3 minutes for your opening statement.
Good evening, everybody, and thank you for coming this evening. My name is David Smith. I'm currently serving year number 3 of my first term as a Select Board for the town of Sterling. I'm looking forward to another 3-year term. Vote for me and have a good night. No. I currently am the Public Works Director for the town of Harvard. I serve on the Worcester County Highway Association Board of Directors. I serve on the Middlesex, Bristol, Norfolk County Mechanics Workshop Board of Directors. I teach and instruct for Mass DOT Bay State Roads. I actually had a class today in New Marlboro. Does everybody know where New Marlboro is? Go to New York and back up. I'm a member of the Mass Highway Association, as well as the American Public Works Association, so you can see my passion lies in public works. I feel that I have done a fairly decent job of serving the town and serving on the board and guiding the town with little controversy. Our board is very cohesive. If you watch us, we have a bit of humor injected into our meetings, which I think is important. Nobody should take life too seriously. I hope to continue this. Let's see. I think I've done a fairly good job in representing the needs of the residents, not so much what my opinions or my views might be. I try to do what is correct for the residents of town. We're about to enter some challenging financial times, and I feel that my experience and responsibility working in the public sector will be beneficial when we are trying to balance a level of service to the residents, what the residents are used to, with the revenue that we are going to be generating. And Sterling is not alone in its financial needs. Many towns around us are going for an override. We were fortunate with the Finance Committee and town administrator to avoid doing that this year. When you look around at other towns and see what they're going through, I think Sterling is in a pretty decent situation. The things that I'm not really looking forward to is the regionalization, a possible regionalization of our dispatch. That's going to be highly controversial. The fact that our admin assistant to the select board and town administrator is retiring, Karma Jane, make no mistake, Karma does a very, very good job and pretty much runs our board. The fire chief retiring is another big hit for the town. I think the chief has got a pretty good succession plan with that, so I don't know if that's really too much of a concern. The MBTA adjacent community issue, which generated a lot of controversy in town. I'm not looking forward to the outcome of that, to be honest with you. And also the DPW building, which we're trying to get some funding for to get those gentlemen a new facility to work out of, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you, David. What are the things that you see, as you just referred to some challenges coming up financially, fiscally? What do you see those challenges as being, and how are you going to deal with them?
Well, it's unfortunate, but there's going to be probably some cuts with personnel at some point in time. Level of service we try to maintain at what it is, but there's going to have to be some concessions made probably in every department in town. We might be able to squeak through one more year, but at some point, unless the financial portfolio changes nationwide, every town is going to be looking to do some budget cuts and layoffs.
Thank you. Are there any public questions for Mr. Smith? Yes, Rich, go on up.
Richard Lane, I'm a resident of town. I'm also currently the chairman of the Board of Health. And Ms. Moderator, I would like to direct this to all the select board candidates, if I may. In October of 2023, we had a special town meeting specifically called because of the Board of Health. And at that meeting, there was an additional question added after over 200 signatures were gathered to hold an audit of the Board of Health. We are facing financial difficulties. There was an overwhelming vote at that special town meeting to support the audit. I support the audit, and I am wondering if all the candidates that are running for select board would support that audit and support the vote that the town had taken at the special town meeting in 2023. We have to vote on it again because of bureaucratic snafu, but it's going to be on the warrant, and I'm wondering if all the select board members, what their stand on that warrant article would be.
Thank you, Mr. Lane.
So, I think, Rich, you know that I disagreed with that petition at the time. However, I voted the way the residents wanted to vote, and I would do the same thing today. I'm not here, my opinion doesn't matter. It's, to be honest with you, it's the opinion of the residents. So, and I think you would find that the board, I'm not going to speak on their behalf, but I think you would find that they would all support that audit. Matter of fact, we did put it out, request for purchase quotes, and we didn't get any. So, that's where we are with that.
Can I just follow up?
Yes, Larry, you have the opportunity to do a follow-up question.
Because I don't want people to walk out of here thinking that we don't have anyone to do the audit. The state auditor has agreed to do the audit for the town for the amount of money that this town appropriated. After much work by people on the audit committee and myself, we've actually spoken to the state auditor who has agreed to do it for $10,000. So.
Correct. Rich is correct.
Are there any other public questions? Yes, sir.
Bob Dumont, 7 Great Pond Way. You cite your background as being one of public works. In this town, our public works and the board and so on are all independent of the Board of Selectmen. Have you given, how do you feel about that, given the background that you have?
Currently, it's working. I would not change something that's working, okay? There was, prior to me getting on this board, there was some question as to whether or not I would think that the Public Works should be governed by a board, but it works right now. And I think as long as something's working, don't mess with it. We have a great DPW, all of our departments, I would put them against any other town in the Commonwealth. And the DPW board has done a very, very nice job. They're very diversified at this point. I attend a lot of the meetings. I'm very close with Ryan. And there's no issues with the way the DPW operates, so I don't think anything should be changed at this point.
Thank you.
There's another question, yes?
Hello, my name is Jill Damon-Minnow. I'm a Sterling resident. My question is also to all the candidates for Select Board. My question is, what would be your stance on cooperating with ICE in the community now that some detentions and deportations are happening without due process? And there's indications that the current administration may do the same to U.S. citizens.
I'm not so sure the Select Board would actually want to get involved with that, to be honest with you. I would think that law enforcement would handle that. I don't know if it's a position of the Select Board to get involved with immigration and that type of issue.
Are there any other public questions? Yes?
Yes, sir. My name is Gabriel Heilig. I worked for 14 years in the Pentagon. I developed an enormous, although I'm not one, I developed an enormous respect for the professionalism and integrity of veterans. And I'm wondering, since the population of this town is aging, has some thought been given to recruiting and attracting veterans and their families to live here?
That's a very good question. I also support veterans in a very, very large way. I'm the president of F Troop, which is a motorcycle group based out of Sterling, actually, but most of it was based out of Leominster, and our primary support is the support of veterans. How you would entice veterans to come into town, I'm not sure. You'd have to have some tax incentives, perhaps some housing. We're already at a lack of housing for veterans and seniors, so that creates an issue. I know that's something the town needs to address in the near future, is to try to find more housing for our elderly, affordable housing.
Good, thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other public questions? David, you have 1 minute for a closing statement.
All right, once again, I just want to thank everybody for showing up this evening. Most of the meetings that we have at our Select Board, I'm very active and thankful for volunteers. So I'd like to see, even though there's all of you here sitting on that side of the table, more people step up and sit on this side of the table. You need to get involved. We need to get the community involved with this type of government that we have in town. You know, I hear a lot of people complain, and the first question I ask them is, did you vote? And 9 times out of 10, it's no, I didn't. So if you didn't vote, in my opinion, you have no say. So, but thank you all for coming this evening, and keep on voting and volunteer. So thank you.
Ron Furmanek is the candidate up for election to one of 2 seats for a 3-year term on the Select Board. Ron, you have 3 minutes for an opening statement.
Thanks. Thank you, Lex, for moderating this evening, and thank you to those present here tonight or watching the broadcast. My name is Ron Furmanek, and I'm running for the new 3-year Select Board seat. I've lived in Sterling for 22 years with my beautiful bride, Christine, and our 2 children, our daughter, who's a nurse, hi Rosemary, and my son, who works in retail, hi Colin, and also our recent rescue dog, Hope. My father was raised in Sterling in the 1940s and went to school in this very building, so my family has a long history in town. The reason I'm running for the board is that I believe in public service, in giving back to your community. Since we moved here, I've been involved in many different community groups over the years, including Spark, a small group under the Recreation Board, which literally built the park on Muddy Pond Road next to the senior center. And I give a shout out to Pandolph Perkins on that, who donated all the cement for that park. It was an amazing thing to see those guys with those cement trucks rolling in between all those little steel bars and dump their cement. Thank you. I've also been a member of CERT, which is the Civilian Emergency Response Team under Jim Emerton and the Fire Department. I was part of the Information Technology Committee under the Board of Selectmen, and I'm currently a member of the Wachusett Food Pantry Board of Directors. I've also coached various teams that my children played on as they grew up here. I've spent most of my career working at various global software companies, including IBM Lotus, SolidWorks, and now OpenText, in a variety of roles, with my last 15 years having a focus on channel marketing. As for experience, some of you may remember that I was elected to the Sterling Select Board in May 2011, serving one term through 2014. During my term then, I'm proud to say we collectively voted to have the town vault built, which is just down the hall, no, it's next level, sorry. Town vault built at the request of the town clerk at the time, who had no place to safely and securely store valuable town documents. They literally were stored all over town in various places, and I'm told there were some that were lost in a fire many years ago. I also served as a liaison to the Senior Center Building Committee, which resulted in the fantastic senior center that we now have. In addition, we hired a new town administrator during my term and negotiated a contract with the Sterling Policemen's Union. Notice that I say we, not I, as the board works as a team. It's not about me, it's about we. I believe as a select board member, one should do the homework and research, work collaboratively with the other board members, listen to people's viewpoints, consult experts as needed, and then come to the best informed decision you can make.
Thank you, Ron.
Okay?
Now, Ron, economic development has been a topic in this town, and it's been a source of attention over the last couple of years. What is your stance on economic development? What are the types of economic development you would like to see in Sterling? And what will you do as a member of the Select Board to work for economic development that is both viable and meets the needs of the town?
So I attended the planning board meeting back on February 19. I have the presentation here. And I was really interested to hear about the benefits of commercial development. And one of the points they made that on that is for every tax dollar generated by residential development, it costs the town $1.09 to provide municipal services. But for every tax dollar generated by commercial and industrial development, the cost to the town is 26 cents to service. So that's a plus 74 cent difference. I think that, along with the proposed zoning change for the Gateway Enterprise District, I think that will be an important advantage to the town. As they pointed out during that meeting, we're running out of developable commercial space. It tends to go more residential here. And given those facts and figures that I just mentioned, I think it's incumbent upon us, and if you don't want to keep raising your property tax every year, we need to look at more commercial development in town.
Thank you. Now, there were two public questions that were directed to all the candidates. Mr. Lane, would you like to reiterate your question?
Recall the question, Ron?
I do. I wrote it down.
All right.
As far as the audit for the Board of Health, people voted for that. It's on the town warrant, and we're getting another chance this time to confirm that and to move forward with that. So I would support that.
And your question that
Something about, yeah, ice.
was directed to everybody.
Should I restate the question?
I wrote it down. A very contentious topic, obviously, nowadays, but I don't see that right now for this town as a Board of Selectmen decision. I think that's a law enforcement decision. So I would want to have a conversation with our chief of police and get his opinion on what, if anything, we should do about that.
Okay. If I may follow up, I guess I'm a little disconcerted to hear, like, people from the board say they wouldn't step in if one of the residents of our town was detained without due process. So I'd like to, I guess, say that I would hope that the board would step in a situation like that.
I get your point, and I understand that, and our country is founded on due process. And the seeming vacuum of following that currently is a problem to me personally. I can't speak for anyone else on the board. But again, it's, it's not generally a Board of Selectmen decision about due process. That's really state, federal, and involving our, the Sterling Police possibly. But I get your message, and I think that's a very concerning thing that's happening to people nowadays. But again, it's really not something that the town specifically deals with. But point well taken.
Thank you. Are there any other public questions for Mr. Fermanik?
Kevin Moulton, 74 Waller Road. We talk about commercial land, and there's a restaurant up the road here, Sterling Inn, that's rotting away, and we're saying we don't have enough property. Is there any plan with the select board or to deal with this basic eyesore? It's a prime property. I mean, condos, senior center, whatever, but this, you drive by that thing, it's rotting, I don't think you can fix it now, it's gotta be torn down. So we talk about it, that thing's been, I don't know when they went out of business, I've lived here 34 years, and that thing is...
That's been empty since I was on the board in 2011.
Oh, that's, okay, then what's your plans, and this is for all the select board, let's do something with this thing. It's an eyesore, and no one's gonna come into Sterling, you drive through Sterling, you see that thing, there's no attractiveness, so that's my question, thanks.
That's a great question, and that's something the board's gonna have to address. I mean, we addressed it back again when I was originally on the board. Back at that point, the owners at the time actually still had their liquor license. That was the most valuable part of the whole deal. But they lost that. And they had chances to sell it back then, from what I understand, from what I recall, and they didn't. There was some kind of attachment to the building, and now it sits where it sits today. I go by that thing almost every day. I agree with you. It's sort of like 1835 used to be, again, back when I was on the board in 2011. I had people tell me this is an eyesore, it's ugly, it needs to be painted. Eventually, I'm sorry, it's not 1835, the building next door to it. Eventually that did get, fixed up, painted. Now that you've got this shop in the basement, which is great. So that's a really important question. We did look at that back in my first time, to have that as the senior center. But my argument for that was that we'd be taking commercial property off the tax rolls. So nowadays, with interest rates being so high, the financial challenges that we're all facing, it's going to be a hard thing to get somebody to come in and do something with it. It's probably a tear down, I would agree with you. I mean, I toured that thing back 12 years ago, and that thing's, solidly built. I mean, nuclear war wouldn't take that thing down. But how do we rectify it? What do we do next? And, that's something I'd be very eager to talk to the other board members, assuming I'm elected, about what we can do. I mean, it's a great question.
You have a follow-up, yes.
Just make it clear to me, is the problem back taxes that the building owns to Sterling?
I don't believe so.
No? Okay, I just want, no.
There was a time back, again,
Okay.
original term, that was a problem, but, it's been bought and sold, twice since then?
So someone's paying.
Just one question at a time. Go on. Yes, you can finish your question, sir.
I asked them, if there's taxes still due on that or not being paid on?
Okay, Maureen?
I just wanted to answer because it's kind of not fair to ask Ron what's going on with it now.
Right.
So I wanted to answer Kevin's question in that it is still privately owned, the taxes are still being paid. We have approached the select board individually as well, and the TA, as to what they intend to do with it. The problem is that, yes, it has to come down, it has to be wrapped to get it down because it's full of lead, mold, and asbestos. So that's where we are, but if anybody has a match.
And that was Select Board Member Maureen Cranston that we just heard from. Are there any other questions or comments? Yes?
Lane Burchard, Raleigh Hill Road. I ask it again. Dave talked about, he didn't talk about Prop 2.5, but we have to talk about it. It's the responsible thing to do. Most towns around us have done it because they had to, because inflation is more than 2.5% and has been for a while. How are you, where are you at with Prop 2.5? How do you see it moving forward? How would you work with the town administrator and the other select board members on addressing that? And because I'm hearing a lot of different stuff here about listening to the people, which is really important, but I'm not hearing much about leadership. And the five of you will be leaders in the town, and collectively you will be leading. Collectively you will be leading even on ice. Sorry. You're going to have to all deal with it.
What is your question, Mr. Burchard?
So, I would like to know more about how you intend on dealing with Prop 2.5 and almost inevitable that we have to do it. Should we embrace it? Should we try to strangle it? Should we really go along? Please explain your attitudes, your thoughts about it, so we understand how you think about it.
I think it's really important that the board works with the Finance Committee. And I was just reviewing the article that was in the Meeting House News that talked about the Finance Committee. If you look at the town warrant, there are a number of different articles on the warrant that talks about things to help us avoid this, at least for the near term. If we had more commercial growth, maybe that could help us, right? So these are all things that are intertwined. It's not an either or. It's not an inevitability that we're going to have a 2.5 override. My wife works in the town of Harvard. Davidson, DPW. They have already had a successful override in the town of Harvard, and they're going for another one next month. And depending on the results of that, people are going to lose their jobs, potentially. So what we need to do as a board is work very closely with the Finance Committee, and again, looking at the warrant, the Select Board has approved or supported the articles that the Finance Committee has proposed to help us push that further down the road. So I would continue on that path and continue to work with the other 4 members as well as the entire Finance Committee to see what more we can do. The big challenge is insurance costs. From my reading of it, they never go down. You've got the school system, which is the biggest part of our budget, doesn't go down. These are all challenges that we're going to have to continue to face and try to make the most fiscally prudent decisions possible.
Thank you. Any other public questions?
Wait a minute. Can you just direct that for all the candidates? Because Dave and, thank you.
All right.
Yes. Laura Ritchie. I was wondering what your feelings are on finding out from the state how we can figure out the antiquated figures that they come up with to make Sterling look like a wealthy town as part of the Wachusett Regional School District. We're the wealthiest town in the district, and we pay the most per student, even though we have one of the lowest enrollments in the town. So I've asked the senators, I've asked school committee members, I've asked the state representative how we can find out who made that calculation, okay? Are you willing to find out from Governor Healy or the state treasurer how we can get that figure fixed so that we could have a more equal spending throughout the Wachusett budget so that people aren't facing the 2.5 overrides because of the increasing school budgets? Because we might be okay this year, but in the years to come, we're gonna be that 2.5, okay? So, because
Possibly.
you just said, okay, that the budget is gonna keep going up because we just keep getting less and less and less from the state and less from the feds. So, I'm interested in finding out if all of the select board are gonna take the picket signs down to Boston, and I'll come with you, and stand outside there and find out how we're gonna get that antiquated calculation fixed.
Thank you for your question.
Great question. I think that's something we could work on with multiple fronts, through a town administrator, certainly through our state representatives, our state senators, to get them to ask those questions. We can raise that up to them. We can certainly reach out to the state as well, but I think a concerted effort amongst all those folks to give almost like a pressure campaign, say, we need answers to this. And by pulling all these levers, we should be able to get answers. But the state is not the most opaque thing in the universe. We all know this. You just pointed out one of the examples why. So it would be working collectively with, through town administrator and our state representatives, to help us get some answers.
Thank you. Are there any other public questions? Sir.
Just to follow up on the school question by Laura had. First of all, if you want, talk to the superintendent. He made a presentation at the senior center, and you were at the presentation. Now, unfortunately in Sterling, we have a lot of high-income people, and that's the facts. So the four other cities, Paxton, Holden, yeah, we pay more in taxes because unfortunately, we're lucky enough to live in this town of Sterling where our income is higher than anybody else's. So yes, it's a fact that we pay more per student. But does that mean it's wrong? We make more money than the average family in all the other county, or at least Paxton. Yeah. So what you want to do, get a hold of the superintendent. He'll show you where we line up. Yes, we pay the highest per student, and he'll explain it to you why.
What is your question to Mr.
I'm just giving him advice to call the superintendent.
I know as a former board member, we meet with him regularly on an annual basis. So yeah, we would ask that question to the superintendent of course. I think it's kind of a given, but good point.
Are there any other public questions for Mr. Furmanek? All right, Ron, you have 1 minute for a closing statement.
Thank you. I want to thank all who attended tonight's discussion or are watching at home, to Lex for hosting, and to especially all the other candidates here tonight. You took the chance to step up and help Sterling in whatever office you're running for. Sterling depends on people like you to put the time and effort in to make our town a better place. I agree with David, and I've said this for many years. You have the right to complain, but propose a solution. Join a board or a committee for whatever your passion is, whether it's arts, culture, DPW, I don't care. Get involved, because the town runs on volunteers. You need to be involved to make an improvement in our town. Please, get involved. I've said this for many, many years. I said it when I was originally on the board, and I'll continue to say it. But thank you, everybody who attended, asked questions. Have a great night.
All right, right, so now we have 3 candidates vying for one 2-year term seat on the Select Board. And so I would invite up to the podium Joseph King, Marina Doherty Meehan, and Patricia Ward. It's going to be the same process here, but it's just going to be, we give them all an opportunity. The questions that have been asked to all of the Select Board members can be posed again. So, and if I kind of lose track of them, just come and hit me over the head and remind me. All right? Good evening.
Good evening.
All right, so you will all have the opportunity to make opening statements. You'll have the opportunity to answer questions. You'll have the opportunity to make rebuttals and the opportunity to make closing statements. So I'm going to start here with Joseph King. You have 3 minutes for your opening statement.
Thank you, Lex. Good evening, everybody. There must have been nothing going on in town, or it was the cookies. I can't figure out which it is, but it's great that we have a packed room here. Hello, everybody. Thank you for being here today. My name is Joseph King, and I'm running for the Sterling Select Board because I care deeply about the future of this town that we all call home. I've lived in Sterling for 38 years. I don't know whether that's the longest tonight, but I've lived here a long time. I've raised my family here, and I now have the joy of watching my grandchildren grow up in the community. At age 75, after decades of raising a family, working hard, staying involved, I'm ready to give back even more to the town that's given me so much. Professionally, I bring over 53 years of engineering, operation, and business experience. After many years in executive and operational leadership roles, I now serve as a senior engineering technologist at Dell Technologies, and I specialize in sustainability architecture and driving change initiatives within Dell. I also happen to run a small business, White Oak Audio, right here in town. I have for the last 25 years run that small business in town. For the past 3 years, I've had the honor of serving on both the Finance Committee, where I currently serve as chair, as well as the Capital Budget Committee. In these roles, I've worked hard to protect your tax dollars and to help keep Sterling on solid financial ground. Most recently, we returned $500,000 in free cash to taxpayers to help offset property taxes and head off a potential override this year. This was a key step in maintaining affordability for residents, which I'm very high on. I'm running as a fiscal conservative. I know that may shock some people in the room here. I believe in funding core services, public safety, infrastructure, education, but I strongly oppose unnecessary tax overrides and unsustainable spending habits. I also support responsible growth, the kind that builds our tax base without compromising the character of Sterling. It's a wonderful town, and I don't want that to be ruined. That means smart development with a strong eye toward environmental responsibility and careful planning, so that our town remains livable and affordable, especially for seniors and working families.
Thank you. Thank you, Joseph. And Marina Doherty Meehan, you now have 3 minutes for your opening statement.
Thank you. Hi everyone, I'm Marina Meehan and I'm running for Sterling Select Board. To tell you a little bit about who I am, I moved to Sterling when I was 11 years old and I've called it home ever since. I went to Choxet Middle School and then Wachusett Regional High School. And after earning my degree in mechanical engineering, I chose to return to this great town because I truly believe in its future. Since 2020, I've served as an election officer, and I'm currently on the Sterling Cultural Council, where I help bring enriching programs and events to our community. Professionally, I'm a mechanical engineer, which means I'm a problem solver who gets things done with a practical, results-driven approach. My background helps me look at challenges logically, find solutions that make sense, and follow through, all essential traits for someone in a leadership role. I'm running because I care about Sterling and the people in it. I'm not here to push a political agenda. I'm here to listen, to collaborate, and to make sure this town continues to be a place we all are proud to call home. I may be new at this role, but I see it as a strength. I don't come with political baggage or a set agenda. What I bring is a fresh perspective, a willingness to listen, and a commitment to learn quickly and doing the work. I'm here because I care, and because I believe that through thoughtful, practical leadership, we can make a real difference in our town's future. Thank you for being here tonight and supporting local democracy.
And Patricia Ward, you now have 3 minutes to make your opening statement.
Lex, thank you for hosting our event tonight, and thank you everybody who's out here. And I just want to tell you a little bit about myself. So I've been a homeowner here in Sterling for the past 20 years, and I grew up in Marlborough, which is not too far away, and I attended Boston University, graduated, moved to California to go to law school, but then I met my husband, and there was Plan B, and we stayed in California and raised the kids. But when my parents got older, we moved back, hence buying the house 20 years ago. So I moved back here to help take care of my aging parents. And Sterling, when I was starting to look, part of it was my mom. My mom had a draw to Sterling, so Thompson, the nursery thing up there. So one of her best friends was Margaret Thompson. So she spent summers in Sterling staying with the Thompsons. And so she had this little draw to Sterling her whole life. So when I would come back in the summer to visit, we would go to the Sterling Inn, ironically, to have lunch and all this stuff. So when I was looking for a place to live, it kind of drew me here, the natural beauty. My husband and I are avid gardeners. We, like the agricultural component. We're beekeepers. It was just kind of a draw for me to come here. So, I, made my way into the community. At first, it was a little tough because as a teacher for 31 years, when I moved back and I was teaching, I had it down to maybe 50, 55 hours a week that I was working, and that didn't count the driving and going from here to work, then to take care of my parents and back. So I didn't have a whole lot of time to really devote. But within since I retired 5 years ago, I've been on the Cultural Council now for 5 years. I'm the secretary. I was hooked into being secretary on my first meeting. I was like, sure, I'll be the secretary. So, bringing events, I volunteered at the, food bank, I participated in the town cleanups, I've, attend town meetings, I've spoken at town meetings, and I feel like now that, my parents have since passed, I have the time to actually dedicate to try to do even more for the community. Some people know me. I grow dahlias. I sell honey, kind of here and there. So some people know me as the dahlia lady, the honey lady. I also do felting, and I do needlework felting. So I've been able to participate in the fundraisers for the library and the senior center through their fundraisers at the crafts fairs, and that's kind of it. I just feel like I have the time now, and I'm ready to do that, to dedicate some time to serving the community that I've grown to love.
Thank you, Patricia. All right, Joseph. Economic development has been a topic in this town for the last couple of years, and the Gateway Enterprise District is going to be debated at this year's annual town meeting on May 5th. and it's been discussed in a number of public fora in 2024 and 2025. What is your stance on this initiative and on economic development in Sterling? And what will you do as a member of the Select Board to work for economic development that is viable and that meets the needs of the town? And you have 2 minutes to respond.
I believe very strongly in economic development in the town of Sterling. It has to be responsible development, however, with the town. And I believe that everything has to be carefully coordinated with the planning board and the town planner to make sure that it comports with the master plan that the town put together some time ago right now. We can't ruin, for the sake of economic development, the charm that Sterling has. It is a wonderful town to live in. It is right now, a residential town that's blessed with a certain amount of industry and commercial properties. We need more. We need more because sitting as chair of the Finance Committee, I know we have struggles with closing the budget every year. We've had those struggles certainly for the last 2 years. We need additional economic development in the town to help fund what everybody loves about Sterling. In doing so, we can't mess it up. We can't have it be the continuation of the corridor up Route 12 from just below us here into our town, because that'll ruin the character and the nature of our town. But we do have some prime property in that Gateway Enterprise Zone that you referred to right now, and it is being underutilized right now. So careful planning, I think, has to come in. We have to unlock the myriad of rules and regulations that Mr. Wallace is trying to undo at this annual town meeting right now, and get moving with that, in my opinion. But it has to be done carefully.
Thank you. Marina, the same question. Economic development and the Gateway Enterprise District are going to be topics on this year's warrant at the annual town meeting. And they've been discussed in public fora over 2024 and 2025. What is your stance on this initiative and on economic development in general in Sterling? And what will you do as a member of Select Board to work for economic development that is both viable and that meets the needs of the community?
I believe that it is important to get this economic development to happen in our town. However, we don't want to turn into a Shrewsbury or a Westboro and get too wild. But considering that, I would work with the town planner, Mr. Wallace, to understand where we can put possibly more businesses, maybe food, not fast food, but sit-down restaurant. I know we're all looking for some more places to eat. That being said, I think that Sterling Inn would need to be renovated, and that could be a community space for different types of food and maybe small vendors. And then regarding that, I'd want to hear from the community and not make a decision just with 5 board members. My goal here is to really understand what the people want. So as a person who is young, I would utilize social media, maybe polling, a website, just to understand what the town wants to come in and what would be best, whether it is another cafe or a bigger restaurant. So I would have to consider the townspeople, the town planner, and then work with the board on what is the best for an economic situation.
Thank you, Marina. And rolling it over to you now, Patricia. So economic development, the Gateway Enterprise District, hot topics right now. They're going to be on the annual town meeting warrant. And this is something that's come that's come forward in public fora during 2024 and 2025. What is your stance on both that project, on economic development in the town, and what would you do as a board member to make that balance between what is viable and what really works for the town?
Thank you. Yeah, I was also at that planning board meeting that you spoke of on February 19th, and I was really surprised to learn, as you said, that it cost the town when we put in more housing. It's $1.09, so the costs are above, what it is we pay in taxes. And,
Speak up, please.
Oh, okay. I know, I was traveling and my voice is going away. And if there's business, it's only 25 cents or 26 cents. So there's a huge difference in the two, and we need to have some kind of businesses in town in order to alleviate the tax burden, on the rest of us. And doing it thoughtfully, environmentally is really important. I was one of the, there was that big survey, I think 300 and some people filled out the survey for the town and how they wanted it, what they wanted it to look like. I was one of, I think it's important to get feedback from the town, but I also think it's important for the town to give the feedback. I could be wrong, there were 300 and some people that filled out that form, what it would look like for people. So I think it's important for the people of the town to communicate to the board what they want, but I think that it's really important to have some kind of an economic development to ease the tax burden. And like I say, to do it thoughtfully and environmentally as well. But it's important that the town lets the people know, lets the board know what it is they would like to see as well.
Thank you. All right, public questions now. Once again, Mr. Lane, do you want to?
So I'm going to pose the same question that I asked the other two candidates, and we've been talking a lot about fiscal responsibility and about services to our community, and I'm all for services for the community, but I want them done efficiently, which is what that vote on the audit was about. Can we be more efficient? Nobody should be afraid of an audit. That being said, would each of you candidates support the audit warrant that's on the audit article that is on the warrant for May 5th?
Let's start with Mr. King.
I think it goes without saying, because of my heavy involvement with the Board of Health Audit Committee, that worked very closely with Mr. Lane to engage the services of the state auditor and agree upon a price of $10,000, which is what was stipulated in that special town meeting, that I am firmly on board with supporting an affirmative vote on that at town meeting.
Thank you. Ms. Meehan?
So I know that's coming back around as stated previously, but at this point, I'd want to hear what the community has to say and how we want to approach this question again, and whether it makes sense fiscally to do so, as we are with this Prop 2 override. And I wouldn't formulate my exact opinion until hearing what the current situation is among not just the 50 people in this room, but the other 7,000 people out there. And I would make the decision based off of what everybody else has to say.
Thank you. Ms. Ward?
Excuse me. Yeah, I agree that we should have the audit. I mean, the people voted for it. There's been a long process that everybody's gone through in order to get this, and it seems like if the people had voted for it, I know we're going to vote for it again, but there was, people did vote for it. There was a long process, and I think it's reasonable to do it.
Thank you. Did you want to ask your question to everybody?
I have a point of clarification.
Yes?
The town is voting to authorize the state to conduct this. The Board of Health Audit Committee lined up the state auditor's office and agreed upon a price. the next step in that was we had to get a select board approval of that. Immediately after we had the conversation with DiZoglio's office, and they agreed to do it for the funds that we had available at that point in time, we took it to the select board. There was a unanimous vote to approve it at the select board level. That was a procedural matter. It didn't occur on the first vote that was taken to put in an audit in the first special town meeting. So we are now just following the procedure that they outlined, that you need to have a select board authorizing an audit first. We did. And then it has to go to a town meeting, either an annual town meeting or a special town meeting thereafter. The vote at this annual town meeting that we're having right now is just the second step in the process.
Thank you.
And that's to authorize the state auditor to do the audit.
Hello, my name is Jill Damon-Minnow. Same question, what will you do, if anything, if a resident of Sterling is unlawfully detained by ICE or any other agency? I've heard that from some other candidates that there's not much they can do, but I would like to hear that you would stand up to protect a resident of the town from an unlawful detention.
Mr. King?
I'll open up. I am a law and order guy, so you will get that from me in every case. I will not undermine law enforcement, no matter what level law enforcement is operating at, and I believe in the supremacy clause within the Constitution. So I believe this is not a select board. We are not law enforcement. This is a law enforcement issue, and I don't believe that the select board can get in the way of what law enforcement has decided to do.
Thank you. Ms. Meehan?
I hear what Joe is saying, and I agree, but in terms of how you feel about the situation, I would work with the members directly if there was a certain committee or a certain group that would want to voice those concerns, and work as a liaison with the police department in town or the state and try to get you the answers you need to figure out the best path forward.
Thank you. Ms. Ward?
Yeah, I taught U.S. history and the Constitution for years, so I'm a firm believer in First Amendment rights, and I'm a firm believer that the law needs to be followed. And the way things are happening right now, the law is not always being followed. And some of these ICE detentions are, in my opinion, illegal. And while it's not up for the board to determine that or not, I think having a voice as a board would be important to make some kind of statement. Just like when we had the tragedy with the Onyx there, the board made a statement. I think it would be incumbent upon the board to make some kind of statement if there was some kind of detention that you were referring to.
Thank you. Yes, sir? Yes, you may.
Okay, number one, my glasses. Okay, my name's Mike Padula, and I'm a town resident. This was for all three of them, but Mr. King already answered this, so this is for the two women. This is a question for all two of you. I believe the select board makes a lot of decisions on how the town is run, and instrumentally on the finances of the town. You're going to make decisions on basically a business with a $30 million budget. My question is, what finance or business expertise do you have to represent the taxpayers of the town in the fiscal manner to be fair to all of the taxpayers?
Ms. Meehan?
So actually in my profession, outside of the town's work, I run weekly executive meetings that are both financial, on a proposal front, business front end, as well as just as a mechanical engineer. With that, I work directly with the CFO, the CEO, the C-suite as a whole to come up with an executive summary that goes out to other potential clients, current clients, to discuss how financially they can either stay in business with us, work on future business with us. And so my background, although is not lengthy with finance work, I do work directly at my engineering firm to get the answers both potential and current clients have to figure out a financial payment plan for certain projects, or how to best manage their money, because our whole plan at my company is to commercialize with us for their entirety of any particular machine they have. So that's what I do at my job, and so I would help implement that here at the select board, and also be open to hearing what the other members have to say, since they've been on the board much longer than I would have, obviously.
Thank you. Ms. Ward? Yeah, as a teacher, I wrote 3 different grants that I was successful in writing, and I oversaw the grants, some of them that lasted for 2 years. So I had a budget that I had to follow, and I made sure we stayed within our budget. So while my, may not be as extensive as Mr. King's, I have some experience, and I would consider myself a quick learner. So I think that I would be able to grasp any kind of financial, whatever. I think I would be capable of doing that. And like I say, I had a huge budget. I had people working under me. I had to hire people to do in services, and it was quite a lengthy, one of the grants especially was pretty intense. So I've had some, experience with budgets.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'd like to make a comment about Mr. Padula's question there. I'd like to amplify my budget experience a little bit. Mr. Padula has the distinct honor of working on the Sterling Finance Committee with me. He's a valued member of the Sterling Finance Committee. In addition to the 3 years that I've had on the Sterling Finance Committee, in which I know pretty much intimately all the financial details of the town of Sterling right now. Within EMC and Dell Technologies for 22 years, I was a senior director of engineering for them and ran a budget approximately 3 times larger than the town budget that Mike referred to. So I've had a lot of budgeting experience. I've had a lot of tough years in budgeting experiences and making budgets work, and oftentimes doing tough things to make the budget work, as we do in town here as well. But my experience is extensive in that area.
Thank you, Mr. King.
And when you know the budget of the town, you know the town.
Thank you, Mr. King. Are there any other public questions? Yes?
My name is Angela Grattarati. I live here in Sterling. And Joe, you gave me your material about, who you are and what you plan to do. And I noticed that one of the things under the education part was that you support the schools. And I'm just wondering why you were the only one that didn't support the schools in the last budget.
Purely for financial reasons.
Financially.
This year, I fully support the budget that has been recommended by the superintendent of the school district. He and I converse quite frequently about it. It's not the budget per se, it's how it is funded. I can comment on that a little bit, in that the district has free cash in excess of $2.5 million sitting in the bank account right now. That's your money. And my personal position is, like we have done in the town, where we had free cash, that is your money. We used it to pay you back by reducing your tax levy in the town, the tax increase in the town. Likewise, my personal feeling and feeling of other members as well in other adjacent towns is that is not proper in times that are as tough as they are right now for all 5 towns in the district. We've been trying to influence the superintendent to give up more than $500,000, which is what their offer is in the current school budget right now, to come down to what their policy is as a minimum, to have 1% of their budget, which would be 1.29 million in what they call E&D, which is really free cash for them. And to give up that difference between the 500K and the 1.29 million in additional help for each one of the district towns, and it would be a portion based on the population within the town. Sterling would pick up a huge benefit from that. The other 4 sister towns that are also in the district would pick up a huge benefit. They're all in a similar boat we are. 2 of the towns originally had an override plan. That was Rutland and Holden.
Thank you, Mr. King. Your time is up. Any other public questions?
It's getting late.
Hi, my name is Sherry Dorita. I live in Sterling. We can start this question with you, Mr. King, and then maybe move on to Marina and Patricia. So this is regarding safety at Wachusett Regional and the issue of equity and inclusion. And there was an email shared by the school committee that you were included on that was instructing folks to file a DEI, Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion, complaint with the U.S. Department of Education against the Wachusett Regional School District. Now, what the source of that complaint was is a welcoming bulletin board in the Thomas Prince School that welcomed LGBTQ students and offered them safety and inclusion in the school. So your name was included on that, and this document also included instructions on how to submit a complaint to the DEI snitch line in the U.S. Department of Education. And there's this implication, not only for the safety of our students, but also does this threaten any federal funds that the Wachusett Regional School District might benefit from and lose given the current administration's crackdown or shift in DEI policy.
What is your question?
So my question is, can you help us understand your role and how your name was copied on that email as a participant? And second part of my question for the 3 of them, how would you 3 make Sterling a welcoming and safe place for all citizens to live?
Thank you. Mr. King?
I get included on tons of emails. Some I read and participate in, and some I don't. I did not participate in that email. I have stated I am a fiscal conservative. I am a social liberal. I agree with you, Sterling has been and always should be a welcoming community for everybody to live in. I have lots of friends, you have lots of friends. They're all different, and they all have all different persuasions. I don't judge them on how they feel about any given social issue. That's up to them. So I didn't participate in any of the chatter going on in that. Like I said, I receive a lot of emails. I'm on the finance committee, so I get hooked into a lot of emails as a result of that.
Thank you, Mr. King. Ms. Mia?
I was also not on that email, so obviously now we've shrunk that.
The question then would be, how would the 3 of you
in your role as leaders.
You've posed your question.
Okay, so welcoming a safe place for students, that's your question. So I think that as a young person, I was not, my time as a student was different than what currently is going on, and that saddens me, right? But I would work with the young parents in town that have children in maybe elementary school, middle school, even the high school, and try to see where they have had either some issues that have occurred or some concerns, and try to make it so maybe the the clerk at Choxit is more aware and maybe has a pamphlet or a weekly or monthly article that goes out, maybe even a group that is formulated to provide that welcoming aspect in the town, because I don't want anyone to feel unwelcomed, whether you are men, women, whatever, LGBTQ, and I would be happy to help work with whoever to make that happen, and especially younger community members like myself. I would go out and talk to, even stand at Appletown Market and hand out a flyer and try to ask some questions, so.
Thank you. Ms. Ward?
Yeah, I think that, as far as with the schools especially, being a liaison to the schools to see how we could help out with inclusion. And I think it's really important to recognize, because I was a teacher, so I understand this. I used to help out, with the Gay Straight Alliance, whatever it was. Sometimes it was, organizing them to go help out with the senior center or go to a nursing home or whatever. Just making sure that kids feel safe at school is really, really important. Because if they don't feel safe, they're not going to learn, is basically the bottom line. So, working with the schools if needed. I mean, if they were to come to us for help, I would certainly try to, help them. But I think establishing a feeling of community is really, really important.
Are there any other questions? Yes, sir.
Kevin Moulton, this is a simple yes or no answer. June is Pride Month. Would you accept, all three of you, I want your yes or no, there's no, would you accept the schools, the town of Sterling, to have a pride flag risen with the other flags? It's a simple yes or no. Would you allow the schools to have a pride flag come June?
Mr. King?
Yes or no?
I'm pretty sure they already do.
No, what, I'm asking you, yes or no, would you agree with it?
You've posed your question.
Thank you. Just say yes.
Yes, I do.
Ms. Meehan?
I agree.
Ms. Ward?
Yes.
Is there another question?
Yeah, I'm Gabriel Heilig, I spoke earlier. Mr. King, it's my first opportunity to meet you. I'm really glad to hear you declare your support for law enforcement. I'm wondering, what was your view of law enforcement's participation in the whole matter around George Floyd?
Do you think that that's a select board question? I don't think the select board could have had any bearing on what happened.
Oh, no, but we have a law enforcement presence in this town, obviously, we need it, we want it.
And I have great respect for them and what they do.
As
and
I do.
I think they are
But I'm asking you your opinion, what's your view of how that matter was decided? Should the officer have gone to jail? I mean, what's your view of that?
Thank you. You've posed your question.
I'm not sure I even want to answer that question.
I know you
Get
don't.
into that.
Thank
That's why
you.
I'm asking.
You've posed your question. Are there any other public questions?
Ben Cheslowski. I've lived in town since, Christ was a corporal, 1977. Okay? And I think I don't know you ladies at all, and I just think that Mr. King is being singled out. And this guy works for this town as hard as anyone I've ever seen. I've gone to the FinCom meetings, I've gone to everything. It's nothing against you ladies, but I just think that there are people in here that are singling Joe King out.
Do you have a question?
My question is why?
Are there any other public questions?
Okay, my name is Kathy Brown. I live here in Sterling. Okay, my name is Kathy Brown. I live here in Sterling. In 2023, the Montezut Regional Planning Commission did a road study, a 2-day road study here in Sterling on the safety on a particular portion of Greenland Road. All of the, or not all of them, but several town officials did receive that report from them. And you talk about people in the community getting involved from May of 2023 to October 2023. I personally took information. That information included photographs and a lot of true information. My question to all of you, would you be willing to open up another conversation on that particular road study for safety that was on a portion of Greenland Road? Would you be willing to open another conversation?
I'm not sure that this really pertains to what we are talking about and dealing with this evening. We're trying to give our candidates an opportunity to state their platforms rather than just dealing with, grievances and different issues.
Well, basically what I'm doing is I'm asking if we would be willing to open that conversation again.
Thank you, and you've posed your question. Thank you very much.
I do believe that it is part of this forum.
Thank you very much.
I don't know what you would.
I'm open to answering that
I'm willing to
question.
provide an answer.
All right.
Can I start, Mr. King?
Oh,
Whatever.
Ladies first, if you.
Okay. I'm glad you actually brought that up, because that is one thing that I am like laser focused on, is our roads and our sidewalks. I live right up the road, I walk every day around town. Our sidewalks, if they exist, are in deplorable condition. They're awful. I'm surprised no one has gotten hurt and sued the town, quite frankly. And some of our roads are terrible, and I think that that's one of the main things that we need to address as a town, because it's bad. I've taken photos, I've actually run into Bill on walks. I'm like, Bill, look, I'll show him pictures. There's like just huge holes in the sidewalks. They're terrible. So I would totally be willing to.
Thank you. I greatly appreciate taking the deal on time.
Yeah, but I think that for me, the roads and sidewalks are prime for me.
Ms. Meehan, do you have a response?
Yeah, so I would be open to revisiting a conversation about the roads, the sidewalks. However, the board needs to work with the DPW, since the DPW is a separate entity that deals with the streets and roads. When I've gone out and campaigned recently, I've conversed with the townspeople, and yes, they also have that concern. They've mentioned they don't feel safe in the center of town, and they would look for speed tables to walk across the street. I stood out at Appletown Market, and it was quite dangerous, frankly, when I walked across the street to go to the library afterwards. I had another community member on my own street wanting to put in some safety measurements for around the lake, Washakum Lake, because there are kids that go to the camp. There are parents that go pick up. I live on Sweat Hill, and that street is quite fast with the pontoon boats. And additionally, not just this Greenland Road, but Rhoda Springs, Meadowbrook Farms, those areas, people run, people walk, people go get ice cream, and I agree that we'd have to work with the streets and roads and the DPW for that.
And Mr. King, do you have a response?
One of my platform positions is I always listen. So yes, Kathy, I would start by listening and learning a lot more about the situation. I only know very cursory details, but yes, I listen to everybody in town. As a finance committee member, I hear a lot. Okay, I hear a lot of complaints that we should do this or do that. and I take them very seriously, and I do run them down, okay? It may take some time. I'm old, and I'm probably slower than I used to be, but I will run them down.
No, you shouldn't say run them down.
Okay, this is...
Now, I'd like to give you all an opportunity for rebuttal. If you have anything that you have heard that you would like to rebut.
Lex, we have one more. Lex, okay. There was one more question for everyone, and the other two select board members, our candidates got it. I know Joe is pretty well versed on this, but I'd like to have clarification on how people respond to Prop 2.5 overrides. Is it an opportunity? Is it something to be avoided at all costs, no matter what the costs are? Where are the red lines? What are your attitudes about it? The people deserve to know that for each candidate.
Thank you. You've asked your question. Do you wish to respond? Because I've actually
Yeah, absolutely.
closed questions.
My feeling on Prop 2.5s, and I've seen it in other towns very recently where they voted in a Proposition 2.5 override that they expected to last 3-4 years. And a year and a half later, it was expended. They used it for buying stock because they had the authorization to do that, okay? I don't think that's a healthy situation. I think you should do everything you can in your power to live within 2.5, and that means working on revenue sources so you don't have to get into that situation. You know that the Finance Committee is working a lot this year with the town administrator on improving our revenue situation right now. We intend to continue to do that as a Finance Committee. Looking for opportunities of cost saving. The town administrator has done a fabulous job, and we support him 100% on job sharing between adjacent communities. Those are things that are being done to head off 2.5 override. One of the things I'm really sensitive to is we have 22% of our town are seniors right now. Some of them are fabulously wealthy, great, enjoy it. Others are not, okay, and they're living on fixed budgets and fixed income budgets in town, and they probably are starting to struggle right now if they're not fully struggling right now. And you have to be mindful when almost a quarter of your town is senior citizens. To the needs of senior citizens, we put 50% of our budget into the school system, and I don't really want to go there, but just for comparison, we put 50% of our yearly budget, $15 million, into the school system on it. We put next to nothing against the seniors right now, so we have to be very thoughtful when we raise taxes. There are a lot, like I said, there are a lot of wealthy people in town. We have a wealthy town reputation, great, okay, and we enjoy that. But there are others at the other end of the spectrum that are not.
Thank you, Mr. King. Ms. Meehan, do you have a response?
Yeah, so that is scary, and as a young person, and looking to other young people that want to stay in this town, move in this town, come back to this town, it's something that we should consider. So at town meeting, Article 6, that's important that we vote upon for that local option meal tax. Article 7, that room occupancy excise, and Article 8, the intermunicipality dispatch services. So that's something that we need to consider so we don't have our property taxes increase. I also think that, I know a town over from us, West Boylston, people probably drive through, they implemented a pay-as-you-throw, which could be explored as a future option, and that has saved West Boylston about a little over $200K in yearly costs. So it's something to think about. And then in terms of senior citizens, that what Mr. King brought up, there was that voluntary program that university students could work with senior citizens to possibly live with them and offset costs. for them because it is expensive. And so it would be a matching service, and you'd have to understand boundaries. I know there's probably a lot of legalities with it, but that's something that Boston considered and something Sterling could consider, since there is a fair amount of retirees in this town.
Thank you, Ms. Ward.
Over the last 4 years, inflation has been at a 20%. We've seen huge inflation. We have crumbling sidewalks, crumbling roads, the list goes on and on. We need to address it. So I personally think that we should look at the 2.5%. I did the math, so I looked at, what the average tax, property tax was, and we're pretty much right in the middle. And ours is due May 1st, so it was just sitting there on the table, so I did it, I looked at it, multiplied it by 4, and divided by, I multiplied it by, 2.5%. And for us, our tax bill, everybody will now know our tax bill. Are you ready? It's $5,284.80. So obviously, there's a lot of people in town that theirs is much higher than there's some, but we're kind of right in the middle. It would come to $132.12 a year, or $11.01 a month. And I would personally be willing to spend that if I could fix the sidewalks in this town. Just saying, because to me, it's my mother always said, you can be penny wise and pound foolish. The more we defer maintenance, the more it's going to cost us in the long run. And sometimes you just have to do what you got to do. We have holes in the roads.
And that's part of the problem, too.
Right. So I think that, and maybe $11 a month is a burden for some, it's like whatever. I'm just saying, I'm just giving an example of what it would look like for somebody. And you can do the math in your head if yours is higher than that or lower. That would give you an idea. But I don't think that's an onerous burden. And I personally think that we need to face it in order to fix what needs to be fixed. I live up the street. It's horrible. I live at the top of Meeting House Hill Road. The sidewalk, I feel like the book, where the sidewalk ends.
Thank you very much, Ms.
All right.
If anybody has a rebuttal to anything that you've heard from any of your fellow candidates, now's the opportunity. You have 2 minutes, Mr. King.
I'd like to talk about sidewalks and streets, and I want to give props to Ryan Meridian, who's our excellent DPW superintendent. He has put together a pavement plan, and he's methodically working through from the worst streets to the best streets in towns with a pavement plan right now. The Finance Committee and the town administrator funded $1 million for road improvements last year to be spread over 3 years. We expected when we did that that'll be a 3-year repeat cycle. You will get your opportunity for that 2.5, or what I'll call a mini 2.5 override, which is the debt exclusion, and I believe another 2 years to reinforce your desire for better streets, better sidewalks, and your willingness to pay for those. Those are temporary 2.5 overrides that go away after you pay off the bond. You'll also, and I'll elaborate on the 2.5 override, you'll also get the ability in this year's warrant to test your willingness on a 2.5 override, because there are 2 debt exclusions on the warrant this year. One for a Sweat Hill drainage improvement to fix the erosion problems and the beach pollution that we get as a result of the runoff on that. And the second one is support of better town development through the DPW facility. Our DPW facility needs improvement, and there's a debt exclusion on that to begin the engineering work associated with that to establish a better facility for the DPW community that does tremendous service for this town. So you will get to test both of those things, the 2.5 and your willingness to continue to improve the roads. Additionally, we got more Chapter 90 funds this year than we have in prior years. So that is very good news for the town. I believe we're getting the same fair share, maybe possibly a little bit more this year, which has also helped us improve roadways and sidewalks.
Thank you, Mr. King. That's your 2 minutes. Ms. Meehan, do you have anything to say in rebuttal?
No comment.
No? How about Ms. Ward?
Joe, you made a comment that you voted to support the school budget, but I was at the finance, FinCom meeting, and you were the only member of FinCom who said, although the committee voted yes, you were the only one who said no. So I'm not sure that what you're saying actually jives with how you voted. And I think last year, because I spoke at the town meeting, as a former teacher, I really support our schools. And I think that, saying you support schools, but you don't want to support them financially, it doesn't add up for me.
Thank you. Well, we've reached the
do I
point
get a
now
rebuttal?
where we have 1 minute each for closing statements.
Do I get a rebuttal on that?
You made your rebuttal a few minutes ago.
That was on roads and sidewalks. I've been asked a new question right now, and I feel obligated to answer that question. And it's not about support for the
I
school.
will give you 2 minutes to respond.
It is not about the school budget. I support the school budget that was offered this year by the superintendent. It is about how you finance the budget. I explained earlier that they are sitting on $2.5 million in free cash that they could contribute back. That's what got my no vote this year, not the budget itself. I fully support the budget. They want to add 17 new teachers and a trip 7, so a net 10 improvement in it. And I've been very public about this. I was very public at the Doll Men's Club on April 10th when I asked the superintendent point blank, will you give us more of the E&D fund or your free cash in order to help us as a town and to help Holden, Princeton, Paxton, and Rutland as well, our sister towns on it that are feeling pressures even greater than Sterling right now. So I look at it as a district issue here. And the district funding issue has been mentioned tonight is kind of broken. I won't argue that, but it's going to take years to fix that. But the immediate thing that can be addressed is, like we did this year, we burned our free cash to give it back to the town. We want the school district to finance their own budget that they're seeking through some of their own free cash. That's all.
Thank you. We now have 1 minute
Do I get
each
to-
for,
No, all right. You can.
there is a process
That's all right.
here, and we've already broken it. You each have now 1 minute for a closing statement. Mr. King.
I'll start off with I'm a very practical guy. I'm also an engineer's engineer, so I'm a numbers guy, okay? Maybe you can sense some of that tonight, that I am a numbers guy. I've had the honor of working with a great team on the Finance Committee and the Capital Budget Committee for the last 3 years. I've learned how the town works by learning from the ground up. I've worked through all of that. I've modeled how the town is financed. If somebody asks me a question, I say, give me 20 minutes and I'll get back to you with an answer type of response due to the modeling that I've done. So I've had a lot of experience in doing that. I do believe in accountable government. If elected, I won't take the select board stipend. I will take that. I will make that statement, and that's in support of the budget of the town. I volunteered for the last 3 years. I'm willing to do it for another 2, okay, for no pay. I will always listen respectfully to residents. And when I am in doubt on a major issue, I'll work hard to bring it to a town vote whenever that's possible.
Thank you, Mr. King. Ms. Meehan, you have 1 minute to make a
I want to make
closing
one
statement.
closing thing.
I have.
Because I never
Miss-
assume that I know better than you do.
Excuse me. Ms. Meehan, you have 1 minute for a closing statement.
Thank you, Lex. Thank you again for being here tonight and taking an interest in our town's future. I'm running for Sterling Select Board because I care deeply about this community, and I want to help make it even stronger. I bring a fresh perspective, a problem-solving mindset, and a real commitment to listening and serving. Throughout my campaign, I've been inviting residents to share their thoughts and priorities for Sterling, and that will not stop after Election Day. I plan to keep listening, stay accessible, and make sure your voices are heard. As an election officer since 2020, I see how important civic participation is, and I hope to inspire more people, especially younger residents, to get more involved in shaping the town we all care about. I'd be honored to earn your vote. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Ward, you have 1 minute for a closing statement.
Okay, thank you. I truly hope I can earn your vote, because I feel like I have the time and energy to dedicate to being on the select board. I think civic participation is really important. I am a good listener. I would listen to the concerns of the people, and I think it would be our job to listen to what you want and try to enact that. I also think there is room for leadership as far as taking on roads, sidewalks. So there's a need for both, to have a leadership role and to listen. And some of my strengths are, being, a good listener, cooperating with people. I have a good sense of humor, so I could bring that to a select board meeting. And I don't know, I would just try my hardest to do my best to try to make Sterling, the good place it is to live. That's it.
Thank you very much. I want to thank all of our candidates for your views and your contributions to a vigorous discussion of the issues and things that are important to our community and to our voters. And thanks to our viewers for tuning in, and thanks to our audience. This has been wonderful to have so many of you here. I want to remind viewers that the Sterling Town election is Monday, May 12th. The polls will be open at Houghton Elementary School, located at 32 Boutel Road, from 12 noon to 7 p.m. In addition, vote by mail is available to all registered voters, and Monday, May 5th is the deadline, the last day to apply for a mail-in ballot. And all mail-in ballots must be returned to the town clerk's office either in person or by mail, or you can drop them off in front of the Butterick Municipal Building by 7 p.m. on Monday, May 12th. And you'll find a vote by mail ballot application, sample ballot, and more election information on the town website. On behalf of Sterling-Lancaster Community Television, thank you so much for joining us.